Hi, I'm Blisy.
Hey, if you enjoy the video, consider clicking like, subscribe, bell notification, and the join button. Becoming a channel member is only $4.99 a month. It really helps me out, and you get a bunch of perks like these badges for how long you've been a member for. You get these emojis for my live stream chats, and you get access to my videos when I upload them instead of when I release them. So thanks so much, and enjoy the video. Hey everyone, this is going to be a tutorial on how to RNG in Fire Red and Leaf Green, but it's a different sort of method than the one I was aiming for before. So if you watch my other video, that video involves you finding the IVs from a Method 1 Pokemon, like a stationary or the Game Corner Pokemon, and then once you find your seed using the variable timer in Eon Timer, right, and it counts upwards, etc. Once you find your seed, you set your target frame and it counts down, and you go from there. You'd have to move out of the game corner and do all that junk. It's a very tedious process, but it is a little bit less skillful. There's not as much timing involved, but this method is a more timing-based method and is also, I think, pretty easy. So you're going to need, in-game, you're going to need to be most of the time, you're going to want to be saved in front of the legendary or stationary or wild Pokemon that you're aiming for. But before you do any of that, you have to do a calibration process. And the calibration process requires you to have a stationary available. And luckily, a stationary is always available in the game corner. I'm going to be using Mewtwo. If you haven't caught Mewtwo yet, I would suggest Mewtwo and don't do any other stationary first, simply because Mewtwo's IVs calculate like by far the fastest, just because he's level 71, so you only need like usually 5, maybe like 5. You would need 5 rare candies a lot of the time, right? So usually I only need 1 or 2 rare candies. But if you don't have anything left and you just want to use this for wild Pokemon, you can use the Game Corner Scyther, which is like 5,500 coins. So just beat the Elite Four a few times to get enough money to buy all those coins and save in front of the Scyther. You can do it in front of any one of the Pokemon that you want to do. So you'll also need your secret ID. If you don't have that, I'm not going to cover how to get it, but usually you need a cheating device to figure it out, or some other method, maybe having attempted to figure it out yourself in another way. You could have caught a legitimate shiny and figured it out that way. Not here to talk about how to get it, but you do need your secret ID if you want shinies. But this will work if you don't want a shiny. You're also going to need a way to quickly catch the Pokemon if it's a wild Pokemon, so please don't use your Master Ball. And you also need, as quickly mentioned, a few rare candies. As I've stated before, I have a bunch of... I used some action replay code when I was a kid to give myself like a bunch of like infinite of... I don't remember what it was supposed to do, but basically it makes it so all my items are like permanently infinite that I had in my bag at the time. I actually can't even get rid of this effect if I wanted to. So, but yeah, I have the Master Ball here and the rare candies here. So you don't need infinite. Like I said, you usually need 5 to 10 if you're going for the Scyther, and even less if you're going for a Pokemon like Mewtwo, who's level 70. So once that is done, save in front of the Pokemon you're aiming for. And turn your game off. I'm using a Nintendo DS. I highly suggest using a Nintendo DS for this as well, although you could go without doing it. Oh, and actually I'm going to take out... If you're using a DS as well, I recommend taking out the top game. Just so it defaults to the GBA position. Now, out of game, you're going to need Eon Timer. I suggest the newer version of it. Go to the Gen 3 tab and click the standard target. For the target frame, you're going to want to put in 700. You could go a little lower if you want, but I find 600 or 700 works perfectly fine. For the pre-timer, put 35,000, which is just 35 seconds. You see here. And calibration, leave at 0. Then you're going to want to also have the program Pokefinder. And in the main window, just click the stationary box, because you need to calibrate this with a stationary. So then all you do is start your Eon Timer at the same time as starting the GBA game. Now, if you're using a regular GBA, you'd have to boot up the GBA at the same time as this. Or I think like the full reset button on the GameCube with the GBA player. I'm not sure though. But it's best that this is from a hard reset, is my main point here. Which is easiest to do on a DS because you can just click the button. Oh, and then what you're going to want to do is, I actually have to get my headphones on for this. Basically, the 35 seconds allows the intro to play out in full pretty much. Don't hit any buttons during the intro. Just wait for the timer to run out. That's all you have to do. And when the timer runs out, you hit A to load the game up. Match through this crap as fast as possible, and then talk to your thing. And then when the timer hits 0 again, accept it and catch your Pokemon. So I got the Mewtwo here. And just catch him as fast as possible. You actually, the speed at which you catch it doesn't matter. It's just much, much easier if you're using a Master Ball, I would say. Alright, so once it's caught, you're actually going to need to open up an IV calculator. So, I actually already know which seed I hit. That's so funny. I recommend the Metal Kid IV calculator. This is by far my favorite one, but the other one, a lot of them work as well. Like Cerebee's has a multiple stat calculator. So anyway, set the default level to whatever level the Pokemon comes at. Type your Pokemon in. I'm going for Mewtwo. It's already set to Adamant, and type in all of its stats. Calculate. Now, as you can see, it says next helpful level. So it would be... Actually, I need to add more. So I need to get these stats pretty much exact. If you don't need it, you technically don't need it to be exact, but I highly recommend getting it to exact. So I'm going to be leveling up the Mewtwo here. So, like I said, this Mewtwo in particular does require a few rare candies. And I might speed this part of the video up, but basically what you got to do is type in all the stats through the ascending levels. And I need to get him to level 75, but I only need to type in the ones for the levels it tells me, basically. So I'll show you in a second. 125. So hit calculate again. As you can see, all of these stats are exactly solved. And if you really didn't want it to get to level 75, you could just basically do... You could just leave it like this and do the second calculation twice. But since you don't need to save these rare candies, like these rare candies, you don't need to waste them permanently. I'd recommend just getting it to level 75 and then typing in the level 75 box. Rare candies can be difficult to come by, but what I recommend is if you have Emerald version, just clone a bunch of rare candies and then trade. It would be a bit tedious, but it would be like a one-time tedious thing, you know what I mean? Where you could get a bunch of rare candies from Emerald version, trade them over, and then use them for this process. So, once you have all of your IVs, what you're going to do is go into Pokefinder's main window, click Gen 3 Tools, and click IV to PID. Then what we're going to do is type in the nature that we got from the Mewtwo, or whichever Pokemon you aimed for, and type in all of its stats. You can ignore the trainer ID box. You don't need to do that. Where we go. Okay. So, this comes up. It's only one for me, however, and ignore the secret ID. That's not your secret ID. You want to look for method 1. Sometimes more than one of these popped up. And so I would recommend just looking for the method 1. And if there's more than one method 1, you just have to check multiple of them, and I'll explain how you'll figure out which one you're aiming for. So, copy that. Copy the seed so that I just Control-C it, and then click Gen 3 Tools again, and click Seed to Time. Paste your seed, and hit the Find button. It'll tell you what seed you got, and then it'll tell you what frame you hit the Mewtwo on. Then what you need to do is write that notation down. Now, also, if I got... So actually, let's see if... I believe the other option for my special defense stat would have been 24. Alright, so nothing came up. So that's what you can do if you, like, let's say I didn't want to get to level 75, my special defense was 23 or 24. I type this in, I get nothing. I type this in, I get this. This is how I know exactly that the, this is what it was. So if I typed this in and it said frame 5,000 and I had multiple method 1s in this box here, what that means is that you want to just pick the frame, because I was aiming for target frame 700, and I was way early, as you can see. So because I was way early, but it's only 100 frames earlier, so right? So you want to pick the one that's closest to it. So if this was frame 3000 and there was two method 1s here, method 1 options here for me to pick from, the one that's 3000 is probably not the frame I hit, right? So what you do is you write it down. You write down what seed you hit. So as you can see, I've been doing this quite a bit, but basically what happens here is I write down the Pokemon. So I write down the seed that I hit right over here. Then I write down the nature of the Pokemon that I hit, just so I could do a quick one. When you do this a bunch of times, which you're going to have to do, you get kind of a quick understanding of what it is. So this is an Adamant Mewtwo, and there are multiple Adamant Mewtwo's. Sometime I wrote down this one had an Adamant of 248 HP, which is different than the starting HP of this Mewtwo, which was 234. So I wrote down, I hit it 5 times. These are the natures for this Mewtwo. And then you do it again. And 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 I'm going to show a little montage of how many attempts that I did this for. But basically what you have to do is do this, literally what I just did. Like 20 to 30 times to get a... So how many times we can see even how many I did it? 5, 4, 9, 18... Yeah, I did like 20-something times. I did around 20 tests, 25 tests, and then I attempted, and you figure out which seed you hit the most times. So as you can see here, I hit seed 5229 5 times. I hit seed A2D0 4 times. Seed C6E 9 times, and I hit seed 7D5C 5 times. All this is doing is using this pre-timer, because the pre-timer is what determines your seed, right? Your seed is determined the moment you hit start to at the title screen, and so this is what determines your seed. And so what you're going to want to do is figure out which seed you're hitting the most using this pre-timer. And so I'm hitting seed C66E the most. So we will save that. And so this is similar to calibrating your like timer 0 or something, where you just figure out which one you're hitting. So close that. So once you figure out which seeds you're hitting the most, you can go into the stationary section and then paste the seed that you're hitting the most frequently, and search for whatever you want. You could search for spreads, or you could search for shiny. So I'm going to aim for this shiny spread right here. Now, there's a few notes to think about here when aiming for a specific shiny spread. First of all, if there is no shiny spread here that you like, let's say the earliest shiny spread is at 6 minutes, which is like, oof, that sucks, right? That's a long wait. There's multiple things you could do here. One, you could aim for a seed you hit slightly less. Aiming for this seed or this seed, which I've hit 5 times each, as opposed to the 9 times of C66E, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would just take a few more attempts to eventually get lucky and hit the proper seed. Alternatively, what you could do is try and hit the seed you want at the game corner, verify you hit the correct seed because it's a 6-minute wait, and you verify hitting the correct seed how I just did it, right? I would check the Pokemon stats, put it into PID to IV, and then do seed to time in Gen 3 to see make sure I hit the proper seed, and then run over to the Mewtwo, run through the cave as fast as possible, or do the same thing with the power plant, etc., etc. And so those are your two options if you don't really have a frame that you like or you want to aim for a later frame. Alternatively, what you could do is increase this pre-timer. So I could change this to 40,000 because the seed is different based on when you hit the A button at the title screen. So even changing this pre-timer to like adding a 5 here, or excuse me, not there, like adding a 5 there, would change what seed clusters that you're hitting. So you could also just aim for different seeds. You'll never really be able to figure out what seed you're going to be able to hit, but or like aim for a specific how do I say this? You're never going to be able to aim for, like, you're never going to know which seeds you'll hit by increasing the time, but there's a chance that they're better than the ones you're currently able to hit. However, once you've deduced which seeds you're hitting the most frequently, and you have one that you like, all you do is type that into the target frame of EonTimer. So, and it's a matter of attempting from here. So what I would do is start my game in EonTimer and do the same thing over again. So I wait for the intro to play out, like I said. And when the timer hits 0, I just hit A to load the game. Talk to Mewtwo, and I chill. It's like a minute wait, which is actually really good. I'm lucky that I have such a good frame that I'm able to hit. Actually, most of my seeds seem to have a decent one. Now, like I said, I'm not hitting the seed every time. I'm hitting the seed probably like 30% of the time, maybe, based on like rough brain state calculations or whatever. So we'll see. And what you're going to do is catch the Mewtwo, even if it's not shiny, or whichever Pokemon you're aiming for. Even if it's not shiny, you then calculate its IVs again to see where you landed. So we'll take a look in a second here. Alright, so it's not shiny. Which is fine, by the way, because a lot of these Pokemon will have a calibration issues, etc. So catch the Mewtwo or whatever Pokemon you're aiming for. Oh, yes. Oh, it actually doesn't work because it treats it as the first frame. That's funny. I'll report that to Fish. So, then you check the Pokemon. So there are a few things you can do. You can check, so my shinies are around here. It's 3, 4. So you can check these, like whatever's here, but what you're gonna do is go back to this, clear all this junk. Oh, actually, I didn't mean to add 5, but whatever. Clear all this junk. Type mild. Type the nature that you got in, and then type the stats in and calc them out. And calculate. So, as we can see right off the bat, for the record, it is clearly, like, based on these IVs, it's clearly not these 2 milds or this mild up here. And so what I would recommend is calculating the IVs further. So I only need to get it to 72 to figure out the exact IVs, which I will do. 173. And I gotta get one more level in there. $235, $175, $249, $141, $209. And we calculate. Alright. So then we just do the same exact thing we did. Go to IV to PID, type in the nature you hit, type in the exact IVs you have. Find. So copy that seed, go over to seed to time, paste it in. So as we can see, I hit 7D5C again, so I would take that into my notes and add it. So I'll add that to this seed. So this seed is actually like fairly viable for me to aim for if I really wanted to. But also something to note is we were aiming for 3471, but we hit 3364, so we'll type that in as well, 3364. And hit into the frame hit, and then hit update, and it'll give us a calibration value here. And I will do, and then we just turn the game off, and we just do another attempt. So I'll do another attempt here. And it's as simple as this. And hopefully with our new calibration and better timing, we'll be able to get a seed. And the thing is, the nice thing about writing down what seeds you have hit every time is is that you can then adjust. If you find that you're not hitting the seeds you're aiming for enough times, you can just adjust for that and start hitting the other seed that you seem to be, for whatever reason, hitting more frequently, right? So if I find that I'm not hitting C66E, I could just aim for this seed more and see what's going on with that. Well, I wouldn't go for this seed because there's not a good shiny frame early. But you see what I'm getting at, right? You could, in theory, if that had a good shiny frame, I could switch over to aiming for that. And even then, 4 minutes isn't that bad of a wait, right? Oh, I didn't set the target frame. Oops, daisy. You have to set target frame when there's no filters on for whatever reason. And no again. But we just have to continue doing this until we get a proper Mewtwo. And one of the nice things is once you start getting familiar with your seed and the seeds you hit nearby, you'll be able to kind of figure out much quicker on the fly what seeds you're hitting. So we take a look here. This is Brave. It could be this one with such a low HP stat, but it could also be, what's the other one? I think there's a Brave one here as well, isn't there? Maybe there's not. Maybe I'm crazy. But there's a Brave one here with also low HP. So we could either be, and we could just be another seed completely. So we'll check though. And you just do the same thing again. Checking and attempting over and over again. I recommend checking every single time to be diligent. It's pretty important. And it also gives you more notes to figure out even more precisely which seeds you're hitting. Maybe you're just like hot on one seed another day. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe yesterday I was hitting C66E more, but now today I'm hitting this other seed. And you, for the record, your seeds will be different than mine, right? So, oh, the HP is 0. So that is a extremely low. And so if I can't find it here, right? Like if I'm looking around, I'm looking for a Brave one here, and I can't find one with that. It's easy enough to figure out what seeds you've hit. Just do the rare candies. Oops, that was on my Blastoise. See, it's a good thing I have an unlimited amount of these. One. All right, and we just type them in to the same, do the same exact calibration. All right, where is it? Oh, Brave. So as you can see, I have a method 1 and a method 4. We just ignore the method 4, go for the method 1. Ah, we hit A2DO and we were only 3 frames late. So that's actually a seed I've also hit before. So we just take it in our notes. And then we also type in which seed we hit. So we type 3, 4, 7, 1. We would update and it'll change. Oh, hello. Oh, oops. 7-3 is what we hit. Update, change a little bit. And then we would type in that we hit this seed 5 times. Just an important thing to note. Always keep track of that. And we go again. Nice. I did it. While Eon Timer was bugged too. That's sick. Gentle. 26, 22, 31, 29, 11, 27, Hidden Power Dragon, 59. Took 20 minutes, not that bad. I just want to thank my channel members so much. You guys are amazing. Without this kind of support, I wouldn't be able to put out the videos I do, and I wouldn't be able to stream as frequently. Thanks so much. If you want to consider becoming a member, just click the join button underneath this video or at my channel page. It's only $4.99 a month. It really helps me out. I'm extremely uncomfortable doing these kinds of plugs, but I'm doing it anyway because the money helps. And if you can't or don't want to, don't feel bad. I'm just asking because, yeah. Thanks so much, guys. You're all amazing. See you next video.